Hey folks, it's Mark with Apple Creek Outdoors. Thanks for joining us today. Now in this video we're going to do a remake of 3 previous videos that we had on spring blackberry maintenance. We're going to try to put it into a condensed format where we're going to show you how you need to prune and trellis your blackberries. We're also going to cover fertilizing, mulching, and how to transplant blackberries plants from the existing plants that you may already have. So let's get to it. Now many of the thornless varieties of blackberries, such as these triple crown blackberries that we have here, are the trailing type. And what happens with those branches, when they strike the ground, or where they hit the ground, they actually start rooting at that point, and they can produce a new plant there. And that's one of the ways that plant expands. So if you want to increase your blackberry patch, or dig some to give to some friends, you can just dig one of those plants, and the spring is the perfect time of the year to do that. Generally speaking, these new blackberry starts are pretty tough, but you do want to make sure that you maintain moisture in the dirt or on the roots, and then also you want to make sure that you don't damage any new growth that may be coming up on these blackberries. Now here you can see the new shoot coming off of that root cluster, and you want to go ahead and prune that old vine off fairly close to the shoot, because you want those roots that are there to be able to direct all their energy into this new shoot. And if you do this, you will most definitely have a healthy new blackberry plant. Now if some of the dirt would happen to become dislodged from that root ball, that's fine. Just keep those roots moist and that new blackberry start should be just fine. Now you do want to get these in the ground as soon as possible, and all you do to plant these, just simply dig a spot about as big as the dirt ball that you have, place them in the ground, or if they're bare root, you want to make sure you have nice loose soil that you can kind of work in around those roots and plant them to the original height that they were. And that usually result in a new successful blackberry plant. Now when you're pruning and trellising the blackberries, there are 4 steps, or 4 things that you have to do. Now the first one of those things is to remove any of the old growth or last year's fruiting growth. You can identify this growth because it is gray as compared to the new growth, the primocanes, which are more of a red color, and they'll also just be very brittle. So you want to remove those as close to the ground as you can. And then any of the pieces that are left in the trellis, you want to get those out of there. You want to take care when you're removing these old canes not to damage the new ones. The buds on the new growth are fairly sensitive, and you can easily pull those off. It's better just to cut these pieces into pieces to get them removed, rather than try to get them out whole. And that's what I'm going to do now. Now the next step in pruning the blackberries is you want to go ahead and thin your new canes, or these primocanes, to about 1 cane per linear foot. Now that can be 4 canes in a cluster and then a space of about 4 to 5 feet, or they can be spaced out more evenly than that. But ultimately the end result, you want about an average of 1 cane per linear foot in the row. Now you want to weed out any of the thinner canes, anything that might look diseased, so pick your best canes. So now that we've got our old growth all removed, we need to get our new growth under control. Now in this cluster that you have, that you can see right in front of me, we have about 5 canes, and we're going to cut these back to where they have branches that are about 6 to 12 nodes long. And we're going to do that to all these draping branches. A lot of these even are still contacting the ground, but we're going to go ahead and cut those off. Now it's a good idea, and this is a little tip thanks to a viewer of one of our other videos. You want to cut these fairly close to one of the buds, about 1/8 of an inch away, and that actually helps the blackberry plant to heal faster from the pruning wound. And then we will weave it into our cattle panel here. Now I like to use, personally I like to use cattle panels. We buy them, cut them in half, and I found they work perfect for trellising these blackberries. There's a lot of different ways you may choose to trellis the blackberries. Really doesn't matter as long as they have something that you can tie them or weave them into for support. Because once these guys get loaded down with fruit, they'll be laying on the ground if they don't have that trellis. Now, there are some varieties of blackberries that don't require trellising, but those are not the kind that we have here. All of our blackberries are trellising blackberries, so we do have to support those. Now here we have a branch that I'm going to cut back a little bit because you can see it's pointing right out into the mow zone. I don't want to be fighting those, so I'm going to prune that back to that healthy looking bud right there. And we're just going to go down the row, continuing to weave these in carefully. Unfortunately, I tend to neglect my blackberry patch a little bit in the fall, and we end up with a little bit more weed growth than I like. Now, we do not use any synthetic weed barriers. We just use the straw mulch, so a lot of times that decomposes by late summer, early fall, and we end up getting a little Johnson grass and some other things like that coming through. So before we mulch this now, I'm going to go through with the weed eater, being careful not to hit any of the new canes, but I'm going to try to cut that vegetation down as low as possible. Now, I don't want to try to pull everything out because that would be disturbing those blackberry roots more than what I would be comfortable with. So once again, we're just going to remove that vegetation down low, taking care not to damage any of the blackberry stems, and then we're going to come over the top of that with some straw mulch. So far now, we have removed our old canes, we've pruned back our new canes, we also have weed-eated and mowed along here, and we're now going to apply some fertilizer. I like applying the fertilizer before I put the straw down because that ensures that some of those more volatile nitrogen compounds that may be in your fertilizer aren't lost to the atmosphere, and it'll get down to those roots a little bit quicker than if it has to filter through that straw. So I like using a nice even blend of triple 13 or triple 19, triple 12, just one of those where all the numbers are the same. Also, if your soil is low in nitrogen, you may want to apply something with a little bit higher levels of nitrogen where that first number is higher than the others, possibly like a 20-10-10. So I like to use a Parmesan cheese container for this. Provides just a nice even balanced application. Now, when it's available, we do also like to use an animal fertilizer like chicken manure or horse manure, but right now we just didn't have any of that available. But those animal manures usually provide a pretty balanced blend of what you need, and especially that a lot of times they're a little bit higher on the nitrogen, which is exactly what you need for something like blackberries. Now, another consideration too, you don't want to put too much fertilizer on there. I think I'm applying about a pound of fertilizer for about every 15 feet of row. So once again, that's just something you have to gauge and figure out according to the specifications on your fertilizer bag how much fertilizer you do need to be applying to your blackberries. Now, the last step of the spring blackberry maintenance is to put the mulch down. Now, we like using straw mulch primarily because we have an abundance of it and it's free for us, but grass clippings, decayed leaves, all those things would work great for your mulch. Now, a couple considerations when you're putting the mulch down: you want to make sure you put down that mulch thick enough to prevent the weeds from pushing through. And if you have aggressive weeds like Johnson grass that stays in the ground as a rhizome all winter, you may want to put down cardboard. Now, like we picked up this cardboard at a local grocery store, and make sure if you do, you use the brown cardboard with just the black ink, because those contain just more natural substances. They don't have any of the dyes or bleaching chemicals that the other cardboard might have. But as I mentioned, you want to get this straw down as a fairly thick layer. Now, I like to put down about 2 to 3 inches. A lot of times it comes apart in flakes about that size. And I don't fluff this straw when I put it down. I put it down as a complete flake, and that density will not only help preserve the moisture in the ground, but it also just prevents those weeds from shooting up through that. No, other way, other way. No, 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 other way. Look at the pattern. First step we did is we removed all the old growth, then we pruned back that new growth to about 1 plant per linear foot and about 6 to 12 buds on those branches. Then we fertilized with a well-balanced fertilizer and then put a nice thick layer of mulch down to help preserve moisture and keep those weeds out. Now, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please put them below in the comments and we'll try to answer those. Well, folks, there you go. Spring blackberry maintenance in a nutshell. Well, anyway, we hope you found this video helpful. Now, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.
If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and check out our channel where we have other great videos just like this one.